Okay, well, let's get started. And hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Today is the last day of the challenge, which is pretty incredible. 4 weeks have flown by. And, I really appreciate your coming along for the ride. And I hope that the journey has been helpful to do this. And whether you've participated every single day or just once in a while as to when you could fit things in, I think and I hope that some of the practices and the lessons have been helpful to learning how to get better at stress. I mean, that's really kind of what it comes down to. Today, we're going to be talking about that in a sense, based on the book called The Upside of Stress. So some of this information is coming from that by Kelly McGonigal. So I'll tell you all that. And we have a good meditation that's really full of lots of great stuff. So first, let me just remind you about Employee and Family Resources, that this program is there to help with stress-related issues, whether it's finding resources or getting some guidance or counseling or a legal financial matter or the website itself. Lots of great resources there for you and your family. It's completely free and confidential. And the toll-free numbers there, it is answered 24/7. So just to remind you of that, as well as these kits, and these are free. I don't know if you've tried to get one yet, but you can get one per employee. And I highlight the stress management kit. It has a couple of good books in it and an adult coloring book and a nature CD. And, it's maybe that would be helpful to support your practice. So keep that in mind. If you want one, you just give a call.
If we want one of maybe two of a different one, one of stress management and maybe something else, is that okay too? Or
they'll probably say just one for now. So just pick one. And as of the first of the year, which isn't really too far off, you can call back and get another one. At the end of the year, we may have some extra supply. So like in December, if you want another one, give me a call and I can find out for you. And you could potentially have a second one. So that is possible. I don't think we've gone through them as fast as we have in previous years.
Because I'm just talking about if we want stress management or healthy weight loss or whatever, if, not two of the same kind, just two different categories.
Right. If you wanted two different categories, they probably would say, because this is Beacon, the outside provider who manages this, and they'd probably just say one for now.
Okay.
But if you want to try a different one later, let me know. You can reach out to me in December and we can check and see on the available supplies. All right. Great. So any other questions about EFR or the kits before I move on? Super. So let's get into the upside of stress. This is, again, a book by Kelly McGonigal. She's the one who did the TED Talk that I referenced in an earlier lesson. I summarized that. And she basically makes the point that, when we change our mind about stress and we realize that stress is not necessarily harmful, it can really actually make us smarter, stronger, and more successful. And it really can motivate us and help us to learn and grow. So that's really what it comes down to. And I know we've talked a lot throughout the month in specific techniques to relax and be in the present moment. And those are all very helpful and part of what I think can help us get better at stress. But this whole idea of reframing and taking a different way of looking at stress can really make a difference. And the science is really showing that. It actually, when we make these kinds of decisions and we change our mindset, which I'm going to talk in a minute or two about, it can actually affect our health and improve our cardiovascular health, for example, and ability to find meaning. And in fact, that's a little bit of what I'm going to be talking about in the meditation, and also as another important part of just looking at what's important to us, right? Because that's really what this gets down to. You wouldn't be stressed about something if it wasn't important to you and if it didn't matter to you. So this last point, the best way to manage isn't to reduce it. I mean, that's sort of been the common belief in the past, that we try to reduce it or avoid it, but it's not that. It's to rethink it and to maybe even embrace it, to realize that stress has a positive side to it, and that there are things that it can do that can really help us. So the goal is no longer to get rid of stress, but to get better at stress. I've kind of referenced that a couple of times. And hopefully you're starting to get that idea. And I'd appreciate, feel free. I don't have Vivian with me today. She's away and on vacation. And so that's probably one of the best stress relievers you can do, is to take time off for yourself. But feel free to put in the chat, if you have any questions or comments about this concept of getting better at stress and reframing and changing our perspective on stress. So this other quote, this is an actual quote from Kelly McGonigal. Focusing on the upside of stress transforms how you experience it physically and emotionally. It changes how you cope with the challenges in your life. And that's really where the stress comes in, right? And sometimes we just feel so overloaded with too much to do. I'm going to reference that also, that even changing how we think of that, and that actually being busy has an upside to it as well, as opposed to being not busy or bored. That's not really a good thing either. So she wrote the book with the specific and purpose in mind to help you discover your own strength, courage, and compassion. And seeing the upside of stress is not about deciding whether stress is either all good or all bad. In fact, she really kind of makes the point that it's sort of a continuum, and it's about choosing to see the good in stress, how it can help you meet the challenges in your life. So that's by way of kind of an intro, and it's a great book. If you want to get it, it's not too expensive at all. You can easily get it on Amazon. I'll go back. That's the cover of it right there, The Upside of Stress. But I'm going to give you a few other things to try, handouts and so forth that you might try as well to continue, because that's really what I want you to be able to do, is take this challenge, these 4 weeks, as a springboard, and take some of the practices, take what's worked for you, and move forward with it and do more of that and less of what stresses you out. So this idea of mindset, and that's really what she's talking about, is ways that we can change our mindset. Now, they talk about having a fixed mindset, which is just pretty much as it says. When our mindset is kind of fixed and unchangeable, it's sort of narrow and closed-minded. That's not really how we're going to grow, right? So there's a growth mindset, and that's where you're more flexible, you're more open to things, you're more willing to try different things and grow. So a little word about mindset. So a mindset is a belief that biases how you think, feel, and act. It's like a filter that you see everything through. So it's kind of like working in the background, in our subconscious even. But not every belief can become a mindset. So as you see here, some beliefs just aren't that important, like believing that chocolate is better than vanilla, or it's rude to ask somebody's age. So in other words, those beliefs, even though you feel strongly about them, they don't really have any consequence for how you think about your life. The beliefs that become mindsets, they really are the core beliefs that reflect your philosophy of life. So the mindset is usually based on a theory about how the world works. So as an example, that we how we feel about the world around us. Do we trust people? Do we feel that the world is getting less safe? That money will make us happy, or that everything happens for a reason, or that people cannot change. These are deeper kinds of sets of beliefs that have a lot to do with how we see things. And they're based on sort of our life experiences, what we learned in our families growing up, the kinds of things that had a deeper influence on us. And so, not to say that they're bad, but sometimes a mindset can be limiting. And so I want you to think about your mindset for stress. Now, the other thing is that when a mindset gets activated by a memory or a situation or a remark that somebody makes, it really does set off this cascade of thoughts, emotions, and assumptions even that shape how you respond to it. So again, it's sort of like this bias that we have. And so with stress, we often have believed that stress is bad for us, that it's harmful to us. And if you took time to watch the TED Talk, which I summarized before, it's really the belief that's important. And that's really the kind of the key message here. So your stress mindset shapes everything from the emotions you feel during a stressful situation to the way you cope with stressful events. That in turn can determine whether you thrive under stress or end up burned out and depressed. So you can really see it's sort of like a pivot point. This belief can make it so that you end up feeling more stressed. In other words, if you feel that stress is harmful and that you can't take it and it's really, something that's hard to tolerate, and you have this kind of negative perception of it, well, that's kind of the path that you're going to take. Whereas if you believe that stress is something that can help you and motivate you and challenge you and that you can learn from, that's where it can really help you with some of life's challenges. So the good news is, even if you're firmly convinced that stress is harmful, you can still cultivate a mindset that helps you survive, or rather thrive, I should say. And that changing our minds is the catalyst. So the interesting thing about this is that often we think that in order to make major changes in our life, we think that there are it's too hard. They're too deeply rooted, too difficult to change, right? Sometimes we think that that there's too much, and in a way, I'm sort of giving you the message that there are these mindsets, there are these conditioned patterns that we have, and so that's one of the reasons why I like to teach, and I think many of you like to practice mindfulness, is it helps us see things a little more differently as to how we, rather than seeing the old patterns, the old tapes that naturally go off, we can see through that. We can see a little bit deeper. We can see that simply changing the mindset can make a pretty big difference in how we respond to something. So what they did is they, in the book, she references studies that they did, and they trained people to get better at stress. And they started by letting employees, these were people in the workplace, know that there's research on both the harms and the benefits of stress. So they really gave them a good overall education about stress, both the harms and the benefits. Then they learned about the power of mindset. So everything that you've all done in this past month, you've been learning to get better at stress. You're already doing it. And hopefully you're beginning to change your mind a little bit about that stress really can be, in a sense, a positive way to grow and meet challenges. So to help them cultivate this mindset, employees were asked to reflect on their own experiences with stress, including times when stress had been helpful. So You'll see in the meditation that we're going to do, there's going to be a piece of that. And then they were taught a 3-step process, which again, you'll hear in the meditation. And here it is here. So first you acknowledge the stress when you experience it, much like we have acknowledged emotions, emotions that are difficult and challenging sometimes. The advice there is really not to push the emotion away, even if it's hard and something that's, maybe anxiety or sadness or anger, but to acknowledge it and just to label it can be helpful. And then you see how it affects your body. So tuning into where you feel it in the body, and then actually even welcoming the stress, recognizing that it's simply a response to something that you care about. Again, you wouldn't be stressed about it unless it was something that really made a difference, that really mattered to you, right? So trying to then see if you can make the connection to the motivation behind the stress. What is that stressful reaction trying to do to help you? Now, think of it this way. You might get stressed about an upcoming, say, maybe you have to give a talk. Public speaking is one of the things that most people get stressed about. And I can share, in the past, I used to hate public speaking, and now I do a lot more of it. But I would get really stressed about it. And so learning this, though, made me realize that all those feelings as I approached the stressful event, the butterflies in my stomach, the anxiety that I would feel, and the thoughts about, not saying the right thing or getting my point across or whatever it was, those kind of became a vicious cycle. But when I realized that those stressful thoughts and feelings were energizing me, that were actually helping me to prepare to meet the challenge, that even that fight or flight response, that sense of tension, and even, well, okay, you could call it anxiety or you could call it excitement, is a way that it's helping your body and your mind get ready to meet that challenge. And when I made that switch and that change in belief and perspective, it really does make a difference. Now, it's not like flipping a light switch. You have to practice at it. You're still going to get some stressful feelings and some anxious thoughts and whatever it is. This can be applied to just about anything. It can be applied to like fear of flying, for example, or, any of those kinds of things that we approach that we get stressed about. So you have to practice it. And that's where you'll get this particular, the third step. Here's the third step. I'm going to include this in the handouts when I send the email out. So then the third step is make use of the energy that stresses you. So in my example, I really did find that getting keyed up a little bit, getting excited, that made me a little bit more sharp and made me ready to be perhaps more clear in my thoughts. I didn't have the negative thoughts. It made me focus in on what I wanted to say, not on what I was afraid that I might say. Do you see kind of getting the point here? So then the question, what can you do right now that reflects your goals and your values? And so you're really trying to figure out what is important to me right now. Not what I'm really worried about or what I'm anxious about, but what's important to you. Okay? So let me pause there, and we're going to go. Next step is to go into a meditation, but I just want to pause and just see if you have any questions or comments, and you can either speak up or put it right into the chat. But what do you think? How is this kind of this whole idea of reframing your view on stress? How does it sit with you? Anybody?
I'll share, Bud.
Okay, thanks, Roberta.
Sure. I've been studying this for years, and I still can see my patterns of when I get stressed. And I'll give an example of me this week at work where I had many deadlines that I was kind of managing and emails that needed to be sent. And when that happens, the pattern is I go into the anxiety and feel cluttered and start working one thing, and then I'll get distracted and work on another thing. And so it's giving me the opportunity to pause and be the observer
Right.
of the pattern.
Yes.
And I love the stop,
Mhm.
because when my body starts to feel the stress and my mind is not clear and I'm feeling the distractions, that's my sign to say, stop. And take the mindful breaths, the conscious breaths, and become present. And I really am beginning to feel the neural pathways changing for
Good.
me. And it's powerful.
Yeah.
And making this a commitment, like relaxing and being better at stress, is my commitment. And it's what's so important to me. So it's like living my life this way now, and being gentle and kind to myself when I don't do it, right.
Right. That's
Being
a big part of it
compassionate.
too. Yeah.
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 Yes. That I lower my expectations a little bit and come to my humanness. That I'm not perfect and I don't have to get it right all the time.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I inserted a piece on this whole thing on self-compassion. But yeah, thank you, Roberta. You touched on a lot of great points there, and such a great example of how a simple pause, the stop, and there's a comment in the chat too that someone else does that as well. Any kind of pause to interrupt that stressful cycle. And the key is to notice when you're feeling it. And you said you now you notice it, and you're realizing you are changing the neural patterns, and that's going to build on, every time you do that, it's going to help you. So fantastic example there. And the self-kindness, right on, you have to do that as well. So yeah, a couple of other people saying the same thing. Simple pause and become mindful really helps. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that's really the key, or one of the keys, but it's the first step. And that's why I include mindful awareness in all this. And you're going to see, actually, so that's a good segue into the meditation that we're going to do. And this incorporates awareness. So in other words, relaxing and settling the mind and the body. Then we're going to move into some insight. The insight is, noticing our thoughts, being aware of what we're saying to ourselves, because that's key. If you want to be aware of what you're saying to yourself about that stressful circumstance. And if you're saying, oh, this is something I can handle, I've done this before, maybe I need some help, but I have the inner resources to do that, that's great, right? But often we're saying, I can't handle this. We're saying that to ourselves, or we're having thoughts that are, not that helpful. And that's the key, is to have the insight into which thoughts are helpful, which are not so helpful. Then we're going to look at the supports in our life, and then we're going to look at a little bit of a deeper purpose and meaning. So this is a brand new meditation that I kind of created out of all of this based on some research from Richie Davidson, which I'll show you in the next slide. But let's do this now. Let's probably take a good 8-9 minutes to do this. So sit comfortably, find a position where you can be relaxed, relatively upright, so you can pay attention as well. And we just start by allowing the body to relax. When we do this, it helps the mind to relax as well. So closing the eyes or keeping a soft gaze down in front of you. And feel into your body. allow yourself to be connected and grounded. To do this, you might sense your feet on the floor, feel that connection of the soles of your feet. Feel your body in the chair, how the chair supports you and all those points of contact. And just feel that sense of connection and groundedness. Now feel your breath. And let's take 3 long, deep breaths. Breathing in nice and deep, filling the lungs. Breathe out long and slow, emptying the lungs. Let that out breath be long. Breathe in deep again. That sense of rising and filling. And breathe out, releasing, relaxing, letting the body settle. One more time. Deep breath in. Feel that nourishment that comes with fresh air. And again, breathe out, letting all the tension go. Let yourself relax. Let your shoulders relax. Let your jaw relax. Just let all the tension drift away from your body. And now bring a smile of kindness to your face, even just a small half smile so that you feel it on the inside of your mouth, but feel its warmth and friendliness. And let it spread up towards your eyes, and then let it spread down through your shoulders and your arms, down into the chest and the heart area. And just pause here for a moment and just let this relaxing and warming smile spread throughout the chest and heart area. Now down into the belly, to the pelvic area, all the way down through the legs and into the feet, feeling the connection again of the feet, and just allow the whole body to be relaxed, stable, quiet, relaxed. Now here's where we turn to some of the insight. Notice thoughts that are here, and we're always having thoughts, even in a meditation. So just notice any thoughts that are present. And just see if you can let them come and go without getting caught up by any one particular thoughts. But you might notice that some thoughts are more compelling and they kind of hijack our attention. And that's okay if that happens. So even if you get lost in a train of thoughts, simply notice that when you come back to, notice that you've been carried away, let it go. You might imagine letting them go like a leaf drifting away on a stream, and return to the breath or your body as your anchor, okay? Especially if you notice a train of thoughts. But just see if you can notice your thinking, and what that does is sometimes it brings up a stressful situation that can trigger a swirl of thoughts and emotions and assumptions. So see if you can just observe what your mind does when there is something stressful on the mind. Just observe, just notice what thoughts are present. Notice what emotions, assumptions come up. Don't judge it, just see if you can notice it. And if you notice a judgment or opinion arise, just let it go, again, like a leaf on a stream. or a cloud passing through an open sky. So that in a sense, we're kind of taking that neutral or detached way of observing it. You can be aware of the stress itself and see if you can notice where you feel it in the body. Maybe you notice it showing up in the chest, a little tightness or tension, or the shoulders, or the belly, or the jaw, or wherever. You just notice. And now see if you can welcome the stress and recognize it's a response to something that you care about. What is at stake here, and why does it matter to you? Take a moment to just reflect on that. And as you reflect on the stress and its importance, you might be aware of other people who are involved. Maybe there's someone who was supportive and helpful to you in this situation. Maybe you sought out someone for help, for guidance, for advice. Take a moment to appreciate and be grateful for the people in your life who are supportive and care for you. And this can really include anyone, even a pet. And just rest in that gratitude for the support network in your life. Now, take a moment to recall a time when you felt inspired and passionate about something. What memories come to mind? Doesn't have to be a big event or achievement, just a time when you were fully engaged and inspired, when you were at your best. Take a moment to recall this. In moments of inspiration, when we're engaged and passionate, often it's because we're doing something we particularly care about, right? So does it connect in some way with a deeper purpose or calling? Whatever you notice is okay. We're just experimenting here. No right or wrong. Just see if you can notice what it connects you to, what purpose or calling. All right, very good. Now, before we wrap up, let go of that reflection and connect with your breath again. No need to change your breathing. Simply notice how it feels to breathe. Purpose can feel pretty abstract, and we can get lost in all kinds of ideas of who you are and why you exist. It can help to reflect on moments of your own life when you felt a strong sense of purpose. This helps bring things down to earth. Now, as we come to a close, making an intention to bring this quality of awareness or insights that you might have had, or gratitude for others, bring that with you as you re-engage with the day. And now slowly, when you're ready, opening the eyes, and feel free to stretch or move the body, and thank you for your presence and your practice. Okay, so thank you for joining me with that. I hope you found that helpful. I'm going to, I did record that. It'll be recorded in this recording on the Zoom, of course. But I recorded it audio as well. I'm going to try to put it up on the website too, so that'll be up there at some point if you want to listen to that one again. But as you can see here, and as I'm talking, feel free to make any comments in the chat. Give me a second. My cat is coming up in my lap as we do this. So if I try to push him away, he'll just get more persistent. So I'll put him in the lap and let him sit here for a moment. So this is based on Richie Davidson. He's the neuropsychologist that I referenced before, and the Healthy Minds app. And what I like about this is, he's kind of brought it down to these 4 pillars, as I mentioned: awareness, insight, connection, and purpose. And so I kind of wove all of that into the meditation. And that again, that app is really good. So when you get the slides, this will be a direct link to the website if you want to read up on that. But this is based on, he's been one of the leading researchers in mindfulness, but also in meaning and happiness. And that's where it's really kind of led to his sense of including meaning and purpose as one of the main things that's important. This is also something that I came across. This is an article on flourishing that's from the New York Times. And so that's a link if you want to read the whole article. But this whole idea of flourishing is, when you think about it, I think stress is directly involved in this and can get in the way for sure. But if we begin to kind of change our minds about it, it can help us. And as you can see, the 7 things that help with flourishing are all things that we've done in the past month. The gratitude, savoring things, assessing, community and connection, finding purpose. So try to keep some of those up. See what's been helpful for you and try to keep those up. Another one that kind of, this is a podcast called The Science of Happiness. This is from the Greater Good Center at University of California, Berkeley, and Dacher Keltner, another psychologist. Interesting, this podcast, I think they've reached like 100 episodes. And this is the one that first reported on the 3 good things. Remember that practice? So at the end of the day, just, bringing up 3 good things that happened and writing them down if you can, or telling somebody about them. But in other words, focusing on the good things that happened. So the interviewer asked him, after 100 episodes, what were the 4 things that he could think of that really made a difference in his practice? And these are the 4: developing a sense of awe. Often we find them in nature. Knowing how to breathe. And again, we all know how to breathe, but mindful breathing, just like you were saying, stopping, mindfully paying attention to the breath, just getting into that practice is going to help us, bring us that sense of calm and equanimity. And then gratitude is the 3rd. And we know that, again, from the research, how important that is. Gratitude is, really helps us focus on the positive. And then that 4th one is giving, and, even small acts of random kindness can really make a difference. So to him, those were the 4 things that really made a difference. So a couple more assessments that I'm going to send you. I'm going to try to give you some things going forward, but there is a handout called 3 Stress and Burnout Prevention Exercises. It's actually the 2nd and the 3rd one. The 2nd one is the Energy Management Audit, which is just, it's easy to take if you're interested in kind of looking at your own energy. And then the 3rd one, which starts on page 17 of this, is if you want to take the stress-related growth scale. It's almost like the post-trauma, looking at how we've grown. Think of it as, and a lot of people have said this, there are ways that we have grown through COVID, so it's not all bad. It's been, yes, a very difficult, trying, awful, and terrible time for many of us. especially if we've lost people and, things that are important to us. But chances are we've also learned something about ourselves. So that's the stress-related growth scale. Now, remember at the beginning, some of you did the perceived stress scale. So in the email, I'm going to send that out again. And especially if you did it in the beginning, I would really like you to do it again so I can compare to the beginning, and I can come up with an average in the beginning, and then we'll do an average at the end, and hopefully we'll see an improvement. Reminder that there's also assessments on the EFR Achieve Solutions site. So there's a link there that goes right to the page if you want to try any of those. And then I'm going to ask you right now. So I want you to put into the chat. Remember we did this at the beginning, and right now on a scale of 1 to 10, thinking about today, but also maybe the last week, what's your stress level been like? So 1 is no stress, okay, and 10 is high, the highest level of stress. So if everybody would do that, I'd really appreciate it. And we'd kind of come up with just a quick group score. And if you did the log, and I'll move to the next slide there as you put those scores in. Remember, I asked you if you wanted to participate in the challenge in the log. I asked you to do that and record it at the beginning and then at the midpoint and now at the end. Hopefully for yourselves individually, you've seen an improvement. And I know some of you have reported to me that there has been an improvement and you have felt like you've gotten better at stress. So that's one way to kind of check that for yourself. So again, I want to remind you about that log. And if you want to be entered into the grand prize drawing, I've got a few things here that I've collected that'll be part of that. Got some stress less cards that are like 52 cards, or in other words, 1 a week. I've got a nice little aromatherapy package. I've got a stress ball. I've got a tea kit. I've got the other stress challenge. So got a bunch of nice things in that. So remember, all you had to do was 4 activities per week. So send that in just on the honor system, and you'll be entered in the challenge. And then I'll randomly pick out a name, and I'll send that out to the person that I pick. So you can scan those to me, fax them to me to that number, or simply, if it's easier, to take a photo and send it to me that way. So we're coming to the end, and any last questions? Thanks for putting in some of those numbers for me. Looks like they're pretty low numbers. Yeah, so good. Excellent. Any last questions or comments before I leave you with sort of a last parting thoughts? And I do want to again mention, I hope this has been at least a starting point and a springboard and a way that you can continue some of these practices. I mean, that's really what it's all about, to help you continue with getting better at stress. All right, so let me leave you with this thought. This is kind of similar to a loving kindness meditation. So may you all be better able to respond to stress. May you be safe and happy and healthy. May you live with ease, and may you find purpose and meaning in your lives. So thank you so much for joining me. This is my last slide. I'll put it up. Nice poem that you can reflect on. 10,000 flowers in spring, the moon in autumn, a cool breeze in summer, snow in winter. If your mind isn't clouded by unnecessary things, this is the best season of your life. So again, thank you for taking this journey with me. Blessings to you all. Thanks for the thanks that are coming in on the chats. I see those. And I'll be on for another couple of minutes as I'm waiting for this to finish. And but if you have any last questions or thoughts, but I hope you have found this helpful. And take
Thank
good
you,
care of
Bud.
yourself. Thank you. Thank you
Some
all.
of the emails that you've been sending with the links have been very, very helpful, and I so appreciate it
Good.
because it really helped me. So
Wonderful.
thank you.
Wonderful. Well, sometimes I think maybe I'm giving you too much, but I figure you can pick and choose what is helpful to you and what you find. And that's really the point, just find some things that really make a difference and build on it from there. So
Okay,
thanks.
thank